आज हम लोग पतंजलि योग सूत्र के स्वाध्याय की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं। मैंने भी पढ़ा नहीं है, तो आई एम आल्सो टेकिंग इट एज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू स्टडी दिस अलोंग विथ यू ऑल। बिफोर वी गेट इनटू इट, आई थॉट इट वुड बी नाइस टू नो फ्रॉम यू कि आपको क्या मालूम है पतंजलि योग सूत्र के विषय में। एनीवन, व्हाटएवर यू नो।
बहुत थोड़ी सी जानकारी है कि before Patanjali came and he put all kinds of yogas together, there were many types of yogas. So hatha yoga, अलग-अलग forms थे, और it was not very well organized. So it was difficult for a common man to pick one and practice. So this is actually a collation of many types of yogas. And this is probably the first formal book of Yoga Shastra.
Okay. Yeah, quite right to an extent. What else do we know about Patanjali? कम से कम बाबा रामदेव ने तो नाम बहुत ही घर घर का बना दिया। आप लोगों ने कुछ किया सर्चिंग ऑन गूगल अबाउट योग सूत्र?
नहीं,
चलिए ठीक
वो यम नियम आसन प्राणायाम प्रत्याहार वो सब जो योग के हैं वो ऐसे रटे रटाए जो बचपन में सुने थे, बस उतने ही आता है। पता
अरे
नहीं
मुझे
है कि
लगता है
व्हाट डज
बचपन
दैट
में
मीन।
सुना था, मुझे तो पता ही नहीं था।
हाँ, ये बचपन में आई थिंक होता था ना ऐसे कुछ, एक आध कुछ सब्जेक्ट में था, इसीलिए बैठ के रटा गया था वो, मुझे अच्छे से याद है।
तो नाइस। मुझे तो लगता है बचपन में मैंने क्या किया मुझे मालूम ही नहीं है, बिल्कुल बेहोशी थी। ठीक है, तो थोड़ा सा बैकग्राउंड के साथ शुरू करेंगे। आपको अलग-अलग जगह अलग-अलग कहानियाँ सुनने के लिए मिलेंगी पतंजलि के विषय में। लेकिन एक चीज़ जो सभी जगह समान मिलेगी वो ये है कि पतंजलि का जो भी पिक्चर आप देखेंगे, वो हमेशा सर्पेंट फॉर्म में होता है, जो लोअर पार्ट ऑफ द लिम्ब इज़ इन द स्नेक फॉर्म एंड अपर पार्ट इज़ इन द ह्यूमन फॉर्म। और कहते ये हैं कि पतंजलि जो है वो शेषनाग के रूप हैं। तो शेषनाग को एक बार उत्कंठा हुई थी शिव के नटराज रूप को देखने की, और उन्होंने फिर शिव से प्रार्थना की थी, और उनको फिर चिदम्बरम जो तमिलनाडु में है वहाँ पर शिव के नटराज रूप का मंदिर है शायद, तो वहाँ पे सेवा करने के लिए विष्णु ने भेज दिया, ऐसी कहानी है। एंड how does this name come is, it is said that a lady was praying to the सन गॉड। तो हम लोग जब प्रेयर करते हैं तो ऐसे हमारी अंजलि होती है हाथ की, दिस इज हाउ दी हैंड्स आर, इसको अंजलि कहते हैं। एंड पतंजलि फेल फ्रॉम द स्काई इनटू द हैंड्स, एंड ही वाज देन टेकन केयर एज द चाइल्ड ऑफ दैट लेडी। तो पतन जो है वो गिरने को कहते हैं, पतन होना, गिरना एक उसका अर्थ है, और अंजलि में क्योंकि गिरे थे इसलिए इनका नाम पतंजलि पड़ा। ये एक कहानी है, तो मैं कहानी की पुष्टि नहीं कर सकती हूँ, आई कांट कंफर्म हाउ ट्रू इट इज, बट आई वाज आल्सो स्किमिंग थ्रू, तो ये मुझे सुनने को मिला। लेकिन एक बात है कि पतंजलि जो है वो, उन्होंने 3 डॉक्यूमेंट्स लिखे, 3 शास्त्र लिखे। एक तो हम योग सूत्र जानते हैं, विच इज मोर अबाउट द स्पिरिचुअल हेल्थ। पतंजलि तंत्र आयुर्वेद का वन ऑफ द फर्स्ट बुक है, जो कि बहुत ही कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव है, बहुत ही बृहद है। सो दैट इज अबाउट द फिजिकल हेल्थ। एंड देन ही ऑल्सो रोट महाभाष्य ऑन द पाणिनि's अष्टाध्याय। सो वी नो दैट पाणिनि वाज द वन who was the one of the oldest grammarian, जिन्होंने संस्कृत के व्याकरण को लिखा था। तो ये बात मुझे नहीं पता हम कितना समझते हैं, लेकिन व्याकरण हमेशा भाषा के बाद आती है, व्याकरण कभी भाषा से पहले नहीं आती है। भाषा जो है, we start communicating in different forms, in different signs, in different languages, so language emerges, and when language has taken shape for quite some time, people have started to, एक intuitiveness आ जाती है कि जब मैं कहती हूँ तो उसका अर्थ क्या है, जब मैं तुम कहती हूँ तो उसका अर्थ क्या है। तो वो जब इंट्यूटिवनेस आ जाती है एंड देन वी अंडरस्टैंड कि मैं का अर्थ क्या है, तुम का अर्थ क्या है, वी अंडरस्टैंड का अर्थ क्या है, लाइक दैट, देन the commonalities are actually brought together, clubbed, they are categorized, and all those things are done, and grammar is created. तो इसीलिए व्याकरण हमेशा जो है वो भाषा के बाद आती है। और पाणिनि ने भी जो अष्टाध्यायी की रचना की थी वो संस्कृत तो बहुत, वैदिक संस्कृत एक है, क्लासिकल संस्कृत अलग है, तो उसके बाद की थी। और वैदिक संस्कृत में बहुत सी ऐसी भाषाओं का उपयोग होता है संस्कृत का ही, जो कि आपको क्लासिकल संस्कृत में नहीं मिलेगा, एंड दैट इज व्हाई वैदिक संस्कृत इज नोन टू बी मोर डिफिकल्ट देन क्लासिकल संस्कृत। तो महाभाष्य की रचना की जिसमें उन्होंने पाणिनि अष्टाध्याय के ऊपर पूरा भाष्य लिखा। तो ये 3 शास्त्र कह लीजिए जो जिसकी उन्होंने रचना की। और योग सूत्र कहते हैं कि ये इसका जो डिस्कशन था, जो इसके विषय में चर्चा हुई, ये शिव और विष्णु के बीच की चर्चा है जिसे पतंजलि ने सीखा और फिर उन्होंने दुनिया को दिया। He gave it to the world. It is also said that Patanjali is in the lineage of शंकराचार्य, और वहीं से वो आदि शंकराचार्य तक भी गया है। So that is it. योग जो हम आजकल देखते हैं, जो योग का स्वरूप है, वो बिल्कुल भी नहीं है। What we see is the asana form of the yoga. So I think one thing that we all can consciously do is, from today onwards, whenever you are talking of the physical form of yoga, you do not say yoga, you say yogasana. मैं योगासन करने जाती हूँ, मैं योगासन करने जाती हूँ, योगासना का क्लास है, instead of saying योग, because this is how the consciousness has to begin. तो ये थोड़ा सा एक बैकड्रॉप है अबाउट दी पतंजलि योग सूत्र। के बाद पूरे योग सूत्र में 4 हिस्से हैं, 4 भाग है। पहला है समाधि पद जिसमें 51 वर्सेस हैं। उसके बाद है साधन पद, साधना पद, सॉरी, समाधि पद, साधना पद, उसमें 55 है, 55. Then we have Vibhuti Pad, which has got 56 verses, and then we have Kaivalya Pad, which has got 33 verses. So Kaivalya, it means, it is the synonym of moksha, mukti, oneness, and all that. So of course Kaivalya will give us more about the independence. Sadhana Pad is, I think most of us would be very curious because we had been looking at what can we do, हम क्या अभ्यास कर सकते हैं, so that the spiritual journey is accelerated. But before doing any abhyas, any sadhana, if concept clarity is lacking, then it is going to be terrible. कोई भी साधना का आपको रिजल्ट नहीं मिल सकता है, परिणाम नहीं मिल सकता है, यदि you do not know what is what. So जो पहला है समाधि पद, उसमें पतंजलि बहुत कॉन्सेप्ट क्लैरिटी करते हैं. He is actually talking of a lot of things that we need to understand. So that is where we are going to begin today. So समाधि पद में अब हम इसके साथ एंटर करते हैं. Now the document that I had shared with you, which has got English translation, again I looked at a few different translations. मेरे पास पतंजलि की 3 पुस्तकें हैं. मैं एक जो बहुत ज्यादा मुझे भाता है हमेशा, वो है अद्वैत आश्रम का जो ट्रांसलेशन होता है, वो नॉर्मली मुझे बहुत भाता है. तो अद्वैत आश्रम का है मेरे पास, श्री रामकृष्ण मठ का है, और स्वामी विवेकानंद का भी है. स्वामी विवेकानंद की पुस्तक में मैं देख रही थी कि इसको पूरी तरीके से कॉन्सेंट्रेशन के साथ जोड़ा गया है. He even calls the samadhi pad as the concentration it spiritual uses, and this is how he has progressed. But we will try and see, because हमने last session में भी discuss किया था that concentration is not attention, it is not awareness. It can be a beginning point, but it is not really the thing. So what then possible meanings could be, we will look at it. जो पहला श्लोक है, पहला श्लोक कहता है अथ योगानुशासनम, अथ योगः अनुशासनम. What do you think it means? इसका जो ज्यादातर ट्रांसलेशन आपको मिलेगा है instruction in yoga begins. This is the translation widely available, but if you look at each and every word separately, Ath is now, Yoga Anushasanam. Now the discipline, Anushasan, we know it is discipline of a yoga. Now the discipline of yoga. So this is a very beautiful way. In fact, हमने हर एक उपनिषद में भी देखा है now अथ शब्द का प्रयोग बहुत रहा है. Why now? Because it says that first you be here totally. Wherever your mind is, wherever your body is, you might be feeling unsettled in your physicality. खुजली हो रही होगी, ठीक से बैठ नहीं पाए हैं, हिलने की इच्छा हो रही है, पैर दर्द कर रहे हैं. Mind is going to 1,000 places. कुछ काम याद आ जाएंगे. हम जैसे ही शांति से बैठते हैं, काम का याद आना सबसे पहला चीज है. अरे वो छूट गया, अरे ये छूट गया. And then the expectation कि कितना समय लगेगा. Generally in my training sessions that I had been conducting, the first question that people would ask is, Richa, कितने बजे खत्म होगा? What time we will end? So the beginning of the session used to be with the end point in the mind. So imagine where is the mind? पहले ही हम ये जानना चाहते हैं कि हमें कितनी देर तक ऐसे रहना है. Now with all this, now present, इसकी conditions fulfill नहीं हो सकती है. So it's a very beautiful way of saying that now the discipline of yoga. So come back, be here, totally present. And in present, what happens is surrender. Without surrender, present is impossible. Because till the time mind is there, it will keep jumping like a monkey. It is only when surrender happens, you allow a bigger power to take care of you. And you call it anything. If you want to call it God, you call it God. If you want to call it existence, call it existence. Whatever works for you. That is immaterial. But you allow something much, much bigger than you to take over you. I surrender. I am really small. I don't understand. My mind is small. My perspectives are small. I still can only see through my senses. My senses are not even sharp enough. So you please take care of the process. You please guide me. And I surrender. When this bhava, this feeling, that happens in us, then now becomes very easy. You know, हमारे everyday parlance में भी हम जब बच्चों को बढ़ाने की बात करते हैं, we say that पढ़ाई से पहले ask them to sit in silence for just 10 seconds. Ask them to breathe in depth, breathe in and breathe out 2 to 3 times, so that they are here, and ask them to permit themselves to learn. This is so very important. And this is so important for each one of us. Give yourself the permission to learn, which means give yourself the permission to be open, to be receptive, to not doubt, to not unnecessarily question. So questions आएंगे तो हम जरूर बात करेंगे. But if I sit with the doubt that I don't know, should I even trust whatever is being discussed, whatever is being told? In that case, surrender can't happen, because The one who is doubting, disbelieving, is so alive, is so active. And surrender simply means that the doubter has to go away. The doubter has to sit silent. The doubter has to trust the process. Even in our life, when we look back, we can join the dots that everything that has happened has created who am I today. And now I can understand why did I undergo that challenge and why did those situations came to me, etc., etc. That situation has made me like this and like that. But when we are in that situation, we are not like that. Then we question, this is so terrible. When will this end? Why me? This is such a difficult thing. I don't know what have I done wrong. Why is this coming to me? And surrender says, howsoever it is only for my good. Because I am so small that I don't even know what is the definition of what is good for me. And so I surrender. Once we begin with this kind of status of mind, with this kind of presence, then we are actually taken by the universal processes. It's not one person speaking, another person's listening. It's everybody's collective energy that guides us. And that's a beautiful thing to happen. That's why Patanjali begins by saying, Atha yoga anushasanam. So you surrender to the discipline of yoga. Yeah. Yoga, the very word, it comes from the root yuj in Sanskrit. संस्कृत का युज धातु है जिसका मूल धातु जिससे शब्द बना है योग. और इसका अर्थ होता है, and we all know, I think, it means union. So union of whom? Union of the small I with the capital I. The union of self with small s with the capital S. Self with capital S. Union of ahankara to the oneness. So in this merger, the ahankara, the I with small I, the self with small s, it merges, it disappears, it dissolves into the self with capital S, or the oneness, or the God. And that is the union. The seers, they say that the pain that we carry in our heart, and the bhakti saints, they beautifully talk about it. They in the entire Viraha Geet that they sing with so much of आनंद, ईश्वर के लिए नाच रहे हैं, गा रहे हैं और बता रहे हैं कि मुझे अपने में मिला लो और तुम ही तो मेरे सब कुछ हो और मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं. The seers tell us that this pain that we all carry, which doesn't allow us to stay settled, which always demands us to progress. In fact, the entire concept of progress of that has come to us from the Western civilization, it is just the wrong way, wrong path. Otherwise, the purpose is very divine. The purpose is that we merge into the universal consciousness. So the seers say that the pain that we carry is the pain of separation. Because we feel separated, that is why the pain comes. And so the yoga or the union has to happen. And this union itself is called Kaivalya. So this is how Patanjali begins now the discipline of yoga. The second shloka says, Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga, and such a small, इसको कहते हैं सूत्र. सूत्र का literal meaning होता है formula. It is like a formula which until unless decoded, we will not know कि इसके ingredients क्या हैं और इसके ingredients का impact क्या है और उनका मतलब क्या है, उनके अर्थ क्या है. The sutra is like that power-packed small capsule which needs to be decoded. And Patanjali gives the definition of yoga in just one line. एक वाक्य में पूरे योग की परिभाषा पतंजलि ने बांध दी है और कहते हैं योग चित्त वृत्ति निरोध है. So योग, we just kind of scratched the surface, and now here we are with few new words. Chitta vritti nirodha. So we will look at each of these words. Let's begin with vritti. Vritti means actually circle. The Hindi for circle is vritt. अगर आप गणित पढ़ेंगे और उसमें ज्योमेट्री में जाएंगे तो आपको वृत्त मिलेगा. So that which keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming, you do not know where it is beginning and where it is ending. So that is what vritti is. In the spiritual lineage, vritti word is used for tendencies and या जिसको हम गुण भी कह सकते हैं. जब हम अध्यात्म के पास जाते हैं तो बड़ी मजेदार बात यह है कि वहां गुण और अवगुण नहीं होते हैं, बस गुण होता है. गुण भी अवगुण ही है बिकॉज उसको गुणातीत कहते हैं. द वन हु इज बियॉन्ड, उसको निर्गुण भी कहते हैं. कबीर के भजन में आपको निर्गुण शब्द बहुत मिलेगा. कबीर गाते हैं निर्गुण के गुण गाऊंगा रे. So the one who is beyond any qualities, any attributes, these attributes, these qualities or disqualities, so any adjective that comes, that I am this, it's a quality, and so there is a qualification to it, and that is beyond any qualification. And this qualification itself is called vritti. तो टेंडेंसी सिर्फ वो नहीं होती है कि हमारे अंदर हेट्रेड है, हमारे अंदर जेलसी है, हमारे भीतर क्रोध है, हमारे भीतर गिल्ट है, शर्म है, हमारे भीतर प्रतिस्पर्धा है, कंपटीशन है. सिर्फ ये सारी बातें नहीं होती हैं. उनको भी जिनको हम पॉजिटिव क्वालिटीज कहते हैं. And the moment there is positive quality, there is a negative quality to it also. इसलिए द्वैत अपने आप ही वहां पहुंच जाता है. तो पॉजिटिव क्वालिटी है, नेगेटिव क्वालिटी है, सो दे आर कॉम्प्लीमेंटिंग ईच अदर. अगर एक नहीं होगा तो दूसरा भी नहीं होगा. एक को पहचानने के लिए दूसरे की आवश्यकता है. यदि हम जानना चाहते हैं कि शांत रहना क्या है तो हमें क्रोध को समझना पड़ेगा कि देखो वो क्रोधित है ना, वो एंग्शियस है ना, वो स्ट्रेस में है ना, तो वो शांत नहीं है. This is how we understand. This is our language, and that is why our language is very very incomplete. क्योंकि हम किसी भी चीज को पूर्णता से सिर्फ उसमें जान ही नहीं सकते हैं. I can't know what white is in its entirety until I know black. I know something which is contrasting to it. Just imagine that पूरा cosmos सिर्फ white है. Will you be able to say कि ये उजला है? Will you be able to say कि ये कोई रंग भी है? We will not be able to say. So la language is or rather mind is, because language is nothing but the expression of mind. It is so incomplete that it always needs a dual opposite to understand it. So the moment we go to Upanishad and they talk of Advait, all that they're saying is become aware of both these ends, both these complementing things. And when you become totally untouched by both these, ना तो आपको प्रशंसा से फर्क पड़ता है, if somebody praises you, you're okay, ना ही आपको किसी के निंदा से फर्क पड़ता है, somebody is cursing you, that is also okay. Not that you can't reply, that is not the question. There is something deep within that remains untouched, अछूता है. The moment that happens, Advait happens. So Vritti is all the tendencies, all the qualities of mind. Is it becoming clearer? Vritti क्या है? और वृत्ति को समझना जरूरी है, क्योंकि पतंजलि तो कहते हैं कि योग जो है वो चित्त की वृत्तियों का निरोध है. तो अगर हमें वृत्ति का ही नहीं पता होगा तो हम निरोध किसका करेंगे? इसलिए वृत्ति की समझ होना बहुत जरूरी है. And he, in his later half, he also explains what are the constituents of mind and किस प्रकार की वृत्तियां हैं, and all that is also there. But in fundamental, हमारा जो भी behavior pattern होता है, हमारे जो भी reactions होते हैं, they are always, yes, fluctuations of mind, Shalini, right, correct. They are always guided by the vrittis. So the moment we become conscious of that, it becomes easy for us to move from reaction to response. Now Patanjali says, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Now what is this Chitta? So this Chitta also I have seen being interpreted as different things at different places. But I like to get stuck to the Vedic understanding of it. मन को हिंदी में, what we call as mind in English, in Hindi it is not called मन, although हमारे रोजमर्रा की भाषा में हम उसको मन ही कह देते हैं. But if you will read Shankaracharya, you will go to Veda, they will tell you that the word for mind is Antahkarana. Antahkarana. And then there are 4 parts to it, which is Man, Buddhi, Chitta or Ahankar. So there is Man, there is Buddhi, there is Chitta, and there is Ahankar. Now all these 4 have different function, different qualities, but at any given point of time, they work in tandem. They work with each other. It's not that when Man is working, the Buddhi and Vivek will not be functioning. No, it's not like that. They all are working together at the same time. So what are they? Man is nothing but all the sensory inputs that comes to us. So all the information, that is manas. That is the job of manas. So it picks up all the information that comes to us. And it hands over the information to Buddhi. Buddhi is the power of discrimination, discernment. Vivek Buddhi is the terminology that you will mostly hear. Vivek is nothing but, Shankaracharya puts it as Nitya Anitya Bhedah Viveka. To be able to discriminate between what is Nitya, Nitya means eternal, and what is Anitya, that which is transient, that which is not eternal. The capability, the ability to differentiate that is Viveka. And this exactly is the job of Buddhi. So if you look at why we take birth to reach the final destination. How do we reach the final destination? In that, these 4 have got very important role to play, and especially the Buddhi. The buddhi is supposed to pick up all the information that manas hands over, and it is supposed to discriminate what is nitya and what is anitya. And in certain way, you can also say that all that is nitya is that which that is vidya. So vidya takes you to nitya, and all that is anitya is avidya. And then there is chitta, which we normally know as consciousness. That's the English translation to chitta. Now, this consciousness has your memory, and it has all the samskaras that we come with. So all the impression that we talk of, कि ये हमारे संस्कार हैं, ये हमारी वृत्तियां हैं, they are all part of chitta. Chitta only has your subconscious, superconscious and all that mind. जो हम conscious, subconscious divisions करते हैं ना, that is all in chitta. So it's a big silo of memory and vritti, and your vrittis are nothing but a kind of memory, and that's why it keeps moving and moving and moving and moving. They are so impressed on us. So all the information that the chitta brings and all the information that manas gives, they collectively go to buddhi, and buddhi is supposed to create that differentiation, that you go with this because this is nitya and you do not go with this because this is anitya. पर यहाँ पर एक लोचा होता है, यहाँ पर भाजी मारता है अहंकार, which is the identity, and we talk about ahankar in great detail in our last discussion. So identity, it jumps and it comes and it clouds the buddhi, and so the buddhi is not able to take the right decision. So they are all functioning together, and Patanjali says that cessation of this chitta, nirodha is cessation, it's dissolution, उसका खत्म हो जाना, उसका बिल्कुल आपके ऊपर से पकड़ छूट जाना, that is the nirodha. That nirodha is yoga. So there is chitta, because of which we understand things the way we understand, why our desires function in certain way. Why do you see somebody is more angry a person, somebody is more competitive a person, somebody is more lalchi a person, and different things? That's all because of the kind of samskaras that they have in their chitta, which is functioning as the tendencies with which we take birth. And here Patanjali says that the entire pursuit of yoga is nothing but cessation of this chitta, or which is loosely translated as cessation of mind also. क्योंकि हमारे पास माइंड को लेके बहुत ज्यादा इतना हम डिस्क्रिमिनेशन से सोचते नहीं है कि कब बुद्धि कार्यरत है और कब मनस काम कर रहा है और कब अहंकार काम कर रहा है. In total, if the tendencies will not function, ahamkara will not be able to protect anything, because what else ahamkara protects? It protects identity. It is identity. What is the identity? I am this, I am that, which is nothing but the chitta. And so they will all stop to function. So there is cessation of mind, which also is called as surrender. And this is much, much easier said than done. Very, very difficult task to do. Because we have no other instrument to operate in this world but the mind. We have no other instrument to know what is what but the mind. So how do cessation of mind take place? Then it becomes a big question. So we have to use mind in a way that cessation of mind can happen, which is yoga. Are we together till now? Anything that's coming up? Any question, any comment? हाँ जी शील जी.
नहीं मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. I can relate to it. Good.
बढ़िया. Anybody else has anything to say? We together. Okay. The third verse, तीसरा श्लोक. तदा द्रष्टुः स्वरूपे अवस्थानम. Tada, then, drashtuhu, the seer, the sadhak, swarupe, अपने रूप में, avasthanam, it establishes, it sits. And this is so beautiful. Then the witness is established in itself. Drashtu is witness, the seer, the one who is witnessing, the one who is seeing, the one who is the drashta. So when this happens, that चित्त की वृत्तियों का सेसेशन हो जाता है, निरोध हो जाता है, तब क्या होता है? तब जो दृष्टा है, the one who is seeing all this, he is established in his own self. In fact, this word in Hindi is very beautiful. स्वास्थ्य. स्वास्थ्य का अर्थ ही है स्व में स्थित. स्वास्थ्य का अर्थ is not health, which we loosely use as. In fact, or rather say like this, that the rishis, they said that we are only healthy, or the definition of health is when we are established in self, which means we are not established in 1,000 other identities, which means we are not operating as 1,000 other people. Osho very beautifully talks of Gurdjieff, wherein he says that Gurdjieff was, I think he was a Russian mystic. He says, man can never make a promise, or man can never fulfill a promise. Why so? Because the one who is making the promise is not always there. So Richa, the mother, can make a promise, but Richa, a friend, can come and break the promise. So I'm just talking about this Richa right now. So the identity of Richa, the mother, is making a promise, and this identity of Richa, the daughter, can come and break the promise. So the one who has made the promise is not there only. So who will keep the promise? And we have 1,000 other identities. Richa, the mother, makes a promise, and Richa, the professional, comes and breaks the promise. And this happens with all of us. No, we say it is all as per the context, situation, etc. What we said, we are not able to really fulfill that because the context has changed, situation has changed. Why all has changed? Because the identity has changed. So to be established in oneself is not to be established. If we want to know the practical way, because we have no clue of what is this oneself, where do we get established in? So then what comes to our rescue is understanding of what I am being established in. Are they the 1,000 identities that I'm established in? And the moment it is about the 1,000 identities, then I know that I am not established in the self. So Patanjali says that when चित्त की वृत्तियों का निरोध होता है, when cessation of mind happens, then one gets established in oneself. Yeah?
have a question, Richa ji.
Yeah, Shilpa ji.
तो आप जब बोलते हो your identity has changed, so your decision you are not able to fulfill, that means there is no ownership. The decisions can be changed because of the context has changed, but decisions are changing because the identities have changed is little bit more complex for me, and it takes me away from the ownership concept.
Right. The question is all about who is taking the ownership. If you are operating from the right center, यदि कर्ता कौन है इसका पता है, then you would know what is to be done. We have talked a great deal about where is the action arising from. हम जो भी करते हैं वो कहाँ से उद्भूत हो रहा है, कहाँ से निकल रहा है. Which center is it coming from? Is it coming from the center of truth, or is it coming from 1,000 other centers? Ownership is only possible when it comes from the center of truth. For every other thing, you will always find yourself struggling with taking care of the ownership, because morality has been given to us and we have been conditioned to the concept of ownership without understanding who is the owner. So the moment you are operating from the right center, you are aware of your entire situation and you will know when and how to take the ownership. And then ownership happens. You really do not have to take ownership. It happens because you are operating from the right center. Does that help?
Yeah, yes, clear now. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. So in the next sutra, Patanjali says, Vritti sarupya mitratra. So in every other time, when the seer, the drashta, is not established in oneself, in all those times, the drashta is attached with the chitta vritti, the modifications of the mind, the tendencies, the inflections. So the literal translation goes as, at other times, when he is not in the state of yoga, man remains identified with the thought waves in the mind. Or in the other states, there is identification with the modifications of the mind. So it is not possible to positively know if one is established in self or not, but this fourth verse makes it easier for all of us. If I am with my tendencies, if they are guiding me, if that is what I am being pulled and pushed by, if that is what is ruling me, then I know that I am not established in self. Okay. Now, very step by step, Patanjali has actually gone and he has put up the words and then he has gone into definitions. So he initially defines what is yoga and then he goes into what is vritti and all those things. So what happens when yoga happens? What happens when yoga is not happening? The fifth verse says, vrittayah panchatayah klishta aklishta klishta klishtaha. So klisht and aklisht. Klisht is the one that creates conflict, kleshpurna. Aklisht is one that does not create klesh. So vrittayah panchatayah. So there are 5 types of vrittis based on if it is conflicting or it is non-conflictive, or if it gives rise to conflict or it gives it does not give rise to conflict. So the way we had been defining things, that based, if you can go to your class 8 9 science, and we had definitions that based on the chemical composition, these are the things, based on weight, these are things. So we always used to have based on certain things. So here the basis is, if the mental modifications, the vrittiya, they give rise to klesha or conflicts, or they do not give rise to klesha or conflict. So the based on that, there are 5 types of, wait, just figuring out. So फंडामेंटली क्लेशपूर्ण और क्लेश रहित भेद के भेद से 5 प्रकार की वृत्तियां होती हैं. And then he goes to define, and as we said that guna is guna, avguna also is a kind of guna, avguna also is a disquality, also is a quality. So both are considered as one group of attribute or tendencies or quality. So the 5 types of vritti that Patanjali then talks of, which needs cessation, and all of it needs cessation. They are pramana or evidence. Viparya is false knowledge. Then there is vikalpa. Vikalpa is what is vikalpa? Okay, vikalp is the delusion. Then there is nidra and smriti. So the 5 vritti that he is talking of is pramana, or the, also it has been translated as right knowledge in various places, what I see. Then there is wrong knowledge. Then there is vikalp, or vikalp, as we understand, this is choices. And where does the choice lies? A lot of choice lies in imagination. They are not there, but we want it to be there. So I am also seeing imagination as an meaning of it. And it has also been translated as verbal delusion. And then there is sleep, and then there is smriti, or the memory. The next sutra onwards, Patanjali actually goes ahead to define what is pramana, then what is viparya, what is vikalp, what is nidra, and what is smriti. So right now, to just know these 5 adi vrittis is good enough. So let's go ahead and look at the 7th verse that defines what is pramana or evidence. तो हमारे पास एक भाषा होती है ना, प्रत्यक्ष को प्रमाण की क्या आवश्यकता, what that is does not need evidence. So here evidence is a lot about self-evident, that which is self-evident. And Patanjali says pratyakshanumana anumana agamah pramanani. So pratyaksha, anuman, agam, these are the 3 types of pramana, or 3 ways in which anything can be proved. What is pratyaksha? Pratyaksha is that which is in front of us, that which is there, that which I know, which nobody can refute, which I can clearly see. that which does not require a proof, that is just in front of us. In fact, Shankaracharya, there is one very beautiful book he has written, it is called Aparokshanubhuti. He does not say Pratyakshanubhuti, Aparokshanubhuti. Aparoksh means not, Paroksh means that which is not Pratyaksha. So Pratyaksha and Paroksh, they are the antonyms, विलोम शब्द हैं ये. प्रत्यक्ष का मतलब है जो सामने है, परोक्ष का मतलब जो सामने नहीं है. And शंकराचार्य calls it अपरोक्ष, वो जो पीछे नहीं है. तो पीछे नहीं है तो कहाँ है? वो सामने है. But he does not say प्रत्यक्षानुभूति. And if whenever we take that particular scripture, we will look in detail of that. But just to give you some understanding, Pratyaksha, and when you go to Veda, these are the three pramana based on which anything that is accepted as truth. What is truth? Which has got Pratyaksha pramana or Anumana. Anumana is inference. If this is this, so this happens, and you can infer it. Then Anuman is another way that evidence is collected. And the third is Agam. Agam is all that is written in Shastra. So because Ved are called as Aparushe, they are said to be not written by humans. Aparushe is not written by humans. And it is said so because when we talk of humans, we are talking of identities. And it is not the identities that wrote Veda. These were written, or rather these were spoken by the seers when they were in heightened state of meditation. So all this knowledge was already there, it dawned upon them, and they could become available to that. And when they became available, they just documented all of that. They just taught all of that. So that is why Veda is called Aparushe. And hence all that is mentioned in the Veda, they are called as Agam, and they are also the Praman, or they are the part of evidence. So when you go to anybody to actually know what is right, so these are the three things that tells you what is right. What is the right knowledge? I know this happens because I have seen it in front of me. ये मेरे सामने है, मेरे प्रत्यक्ष है. I know this is right because if you see, all apples are not oranges, and all those inferences, and we know how the inferences function. So the deductive logic, how we are deriving logically, that is Anumana. And then the Agam, that which is there in the scripture. So where anything present in any of these three states, they are supposed to be, or they are called as the right knowledge or the Pramana. Patanjali is saying this is one of the Vritti. Very interestingly, he is putting even this as a Vritti, as a tendency. And when he says cessation, he is saying that this also should dissolve. This also should cease to exist. We will see ahead. Maybe we have more detailed understanding of it. If not, then we will try and brainstorm. The next is Viparya, which means false knowledge. The meaning of Viparya is false knowledge. And it says, Viparyayo mithya jnana mat rupa pratishtham. So Viparya is mithya jnana or false knowledge. And what is the definition of false knowledge? जो उस वस्तु के यथार्थ स्वरूप की धारणा में प्रतिष्ठित नहीं है, which means that which is not established in the right yatharth swarup, which in the true nature of the object. So wrong knowledge is knowledge which is false and is not based upon the true nature of its object. And this is very interesting and important for all of us. Why am I saying so is, this is where Maya comes into picture. What is the job of Maya? Maya doesn't allow us to look at things as they are. So Shankaracharya in his text Drig Drishya Vivek talks of two weapons that Maya uses. माया के दो शस्त्र हैं, और वो दो शस्त्र क्या हैं और दो ताकतें क्या हैं? One he calls as avaran shakti. Avaran shakti is the power of Maya wherein it clouds everything. It projects everything. So the power of projection. कुछ है लेकिन माया कुछ और ही प्रोजेक्ट करती है, और इसलिए जो है वो हम नहीं देख पाते हैं, हम कुछ और देखते हैं, which is all the game of our perception and belief systems and value systems, etc. Based on all that we will see things. And the second power जो दूसरी शक्ति की शंकर बात करते हैं वो है विक्षेप शक्ति. So avaran shakti is avaran is clouding. It doesn't allow you to see things. And vikshep is projecting. It projects what is not. So these are the two powers that Maya has. And false knowledge is nothing but either something is clouded and hence we can't see the way it is, or something is getting projected in a different way and hence we can't see what it is. So these are the two weapons of Maya, and wrong knowledge is knowledge which is false and not based upon the true nature of its object. So whatever object that we are seeing, when we, for example, let's take Let's take a piece of furniture. A piece of furniture for us is not about really the utility. ये टेबल है, इसके ऊपर चीजें रख सकते हैं, ये मेरे काम को थोड़ा आरामदायक बनाता है. How is the table for us? टेबल कितना चिकना है, ये ना मैंगो वुड का बना हुआ है या शीशम का बना हुआ है, या फिर दिस इज जस्ट अ बोर्ड. अरे नहीं यार, ये तो वो बुरादे वाली है. The utility takes a back seat and the other things, the look, the feel, what can give us the sensory pleasure, they take precedence. They become more important. If we be aware just of utility, then the attachment figure will not be there. It's just a table. I use it when I need it, and I keep it aside when I don't need it. That's all. It is immaterial how pretty it looks. Now it's a different ball game of aesthetics and all that, which has been taken over, which is again the art form. And then we say humans के लिए art भी तो कितना important है, aesthetics भी तो कितना important है. ये सब important है जब तक sensory pleasure important है. The moment you go beyond the sensory pleasure, the moment you are talking of reality and you're talking of truth, all of this must take a back seat. So when you go to buy a cloth, कैसा feel हो रहा है, इसका color बहुत अच्छा है, नहीं अच्छा है. How much of time are we spending in just checking that? हम शॉपर स्टॉप में घुसते हैं और हमारा कितना समय निकल जाता है, निकलते हैं तो पता चलता है 2 घंटे से हम नहीं घूम रहे हैं, और कई बार हमने कुछ खरीदा भी नहीं होता है. So what happens? It is because we are clouded by Maya. We are not really seeing what is what. And we know these examples, no? लोग जाते हैं एक छोटी सी चीज खरीदने और बाहर निकलते हैं पूरे थैले भर का सामान लेकर के. इसके साथ ये फ्री है, ये बड़ा वाला लोगे तो इसके साथ वो फ्री है, अरे इतना पैसा खर्चा होगा, इसमें इतना और ऐड कर दोगे तो ये साथ में मिल जाएगा, उस शेल्फ पे वो रखा हुआ है, वो कितना अच्छा लग रहा है, उसको भी ले लो. So we went to buy one thing and we are into thousands of things. So we have not been able to see what is what is needed. Do I even need it? In fact, there was this research conducted on shopping, and it was found that people buy clothes, especially with females, the ones that are used regularly are only 30% of it. The ones that we wear regularly are only the 30% of it. So what happens to those 70%? Why were they bought? We bought them mostly with impulse, and we are not even able to donate it, get rid of them. उसको डोनेट करने चाहिए तो आपके मन में बड़ी सारी भावनाएं आएंगी, अरे इसको तो मैं वहां पहन के जाऊंगी, अरे इसको तो मैं यहाँ पे यूज करूंगी, ये तो मैंने तब खरीदा था, ये तो मुझे उसने गिफ्ट किया था. All that drama will come up, and so they again go back into the shelf, into the wardrobe. But they are not used. So what is happening in this entire process? The mind is clouded and we are not able to see what is what. This exactly is false knowledge or the Maya. This is a very, very big infliction, which is the first step on the spiritual path. Okay, so it's already 10. Do you want to continue or do you want to stop?
I'm okay if we continue.
Continue? How about others?
हाँ.
Do we have time? एक दो और श्लोक ले लें या फिर अगले हफ्ते?
Continue.
Shalini is saying next time. Okay, so let's just do one more shlok and then we will bind it up. Okay, for today's session. The 9th verse says, now it is coming to the, we have looked at Pramana and we have looked at Viparya. Now we are going to look at Vikalpa, which is being called as verbal delusion. Why it is being called as verbal delusion? Probably now we will get to know. Patanjali says, Shabda Jnananupati Vastu Shunyo Vikalpaha. When word do not correspond to reality, then this vritti of verbal delusion arises. This is what Patanjali is saying. स्वामी प्रेमेशानंद जो अद्वैत आश्रम का, उसने इसका अनुवाद दिया है, यदि शब्द से सूचित किसी वस्तु का अस्तित्व न रहे तो उस शब्द से जो ज्ञान होता है उसे विकल्प कहते हैं. So whatever is being talked about, when that is not the reality, that does not exist, then whatever is being talked about, whatever knowledge we derive from that is called as vikalpa. Now how it is applicable to us? Look at the kind of gossips that we indulge in. हमारे डिस्कशंस कैसे होते हैं? अभी यूपी में वोटिंग हुई थी तो सब एकदम लगे हुए थे कि भाजपा ये है, सपा ये है, ये. आपका काम है वोट देना, उससे ज्यादा आपका कोई अधिकार है नहीं. उसके अलावा आपका अधिकार होता है कि हाँ, आप जन समुदाय को जोड़िए, मोर्चे निकालिए, अगर कोई ऐसा मुद्दा है जिसको आप हाईलाइट करना चाहते हैं, यू हैव दोज पावर्स. लेकिन वो करने में तो बड़ा मेहनत है ना. कौन एकत्रित करे लोगों को, कौन मोर्चा निकाले, उसका हिस्सा बने, उतना समय दे. गॉसिप करना बड़ा आसान होता है. So you should have seen people talking about it. कौन जीतेगा, क्यों जीतेगा, अरे सबके अंदर क्या मानसिकता है, कौन क्या सोच रहा है, अभी की इस पॉलिसी ने ऐसे इम्पैक्ट किया. What is happening in this entire thing? A lot of things we feel as if they are very relatable. तो अभी क्या है नहीं है, हमें तथ्यों का कुछ पता नहीं है, और इसलिए उनके बारे में जो भी बातचीत की जा रही है, और मैं इसलिए कह रही हूँ कि तथ्यों का पता नहीं, क्योंकि हम जो कुछ भी बात कर रहे हैं वो कोई सर्वे बेस्ड तो है नहीं, स्टेटिस्टिक्स बेस्ड तो है नहीं. हम तो अपने फीलिंग के आधार पर बात कर रहे हैं ना, हमें कैसा महसूस हो रहा, हमने क्या अनुमान लगाया है. 2-4 लोगों से शायद बात करी है, कुछ न्यूज पढ़े हैं, और उसके बेसिस पे हमारा अपना अनुमान बिल्कुल खड़ा होता है। अब हमने जब ये सारी गॉसिप्स करी, हमने जब ये सारी चर्चाएं की, उससे कुछ लोग तुरंत इम्पैक्टेड हो जाते हैं। हाँ, ये देखो बिल्कुल सही कह रहा है, ऐसा ही है, आई कैन ऑल्सो सी दिस नाउ, एंड अ फ्यू विल टोटली डिसएग्री टू इट, और हमारा एग्रीमेंट और डिसएग्रीमेंट की गाड़ी चल पड़ती है। दिस एग्जैक्टली इज बीइंग कॉल्ड एज vikalpa, the knowledge that has been derived because of the words that do not correspond to reality is called vikalpa. So Patanjali says this also must cease to exist. Is vikalpa clear? The word vikalpa otherwise means choice, but here the way Patanjali is defining it, it has got a different connotation, right? So anything that is being talked about, that is being informed about, if that does not exist in the sense it is talked about, then whatever knowledge we derive from that is called as vikalpa. And Patanjali says that we need to seize that. Then nidra, abhav pratyayalambana vritti nidra. Abhav, so there is nothing. Pratyayalambana, that vritti which is in absence of anything, and that which does not require anything support. Avalamban is support. That is sleep. So sleep is not just about the physical sleep that we know, and we will delve into sleep the next time in a little more depth. We'll try and understand what exactly sleep is, and I'll just go through, maybe in the further verses he would have talked about it more. I'll have to go through all that. So this is the fourth vritti that he talks about, and the fifth one is smriti. So let's look at nidra and smriti the next time in detail. Yeah. Anything that's coming up, anything that you want to discuss, or any question? Nothing?
No.
Okay, then let's do the prarthana and close the session. Okay?
Yeah.
Please sit straight, and those who know can chant along with me. Otherwise, you just can be with it. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti